Like and subscribe. Please look.
I watch, I look, I listen. I'm watching you right now. Good evening, weirdos, and welcome to Total Recall. This is the show that remembers it for you. I'm your host, Jethro. And with me is the wizard. Good evening. The Jethro bot, yes. With me is the wizard, and we'll be talking about robots. So, yeah, let's not forget the bot. Who put the bot in the Jethro bot? bot.
I don't like bots.
I like, we're talking about Runaway today. And,
this movie reinforces my fear of robots.
Yeah. You can't trust a robot. But this harkens back to my lifelong love of robots. I was always obsessed with robots, and these robots are pretty badass. And, even though they never say what city it's meant to be, I think it's supposed to be West Coast, which is, I guess sort of I have a new West Coast IPA trying out tonight from Real Ale Brewing, one of Austin's oldest breweries. So, yeah.
Well, very apropos.
And we're very happy to hear from Adam in our comment chat tonight. Sadly, Adam Gray is not going to be joining us. I know the opening credits promises that he will, but next time. He is still not feeling good, and that sucks. And we love you, and feel very bad about that crappy
Indeed.
feeling. I wish you were here talking about Runaway with us, because I bet you saw Runaway prior to this episode. Something tells me. So we'll get the other panelists out real quick. As is tradition, since I picked the movie, I'll be the first person to talk about my experience with Runaway. Like a lot of movies we've already discussed on Total Recall, this is a movie that I saw over and over again on cable whenever it left the theater, and I think it did do fairly disappointingly. It wound up on HBO, and when a movie with a good to oversized budget did not perform well at the box office, HBO would act like it was the newest, greatest movie ever, and everyone had to see it. And that was definitely the case with Runaway. They showed the heck out of Runaway.
We're going to play the fuck out of Runaway.
Yeah, everyone going to see Runaway. Yeah. So, all I really remembered about it, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't, that was in this movie that I didn't recall at all. But I did recall, of course, the acid shooting spider murder bots. And I had a a very strong impression left in my mind about the little landmines that zip around the freeway blowing up cars. I think when I was a kid, I just kind of grew up with the idea that would happen, that would happen in real life, and that terrorism or warfare or something would involve those things. So they don't, though, not yet.
That and quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got either one of them.
You could have used quicksand to fight those landmine RC robot cars things. So, but of course, what I remembered the most was this gentleman that you could see behind us, Mr. Gene Simmons from Kiss. And I do want the world to recognize that the Wizard is a foremost expert on Kiss. I guess just in the rabid fandom category.
God. In high school, I was a huge Kiss fan.
So when it comes to Kiss points, we'll be talking about that. But yeah, this movie was kind of ingrained in my mind. I definitely watched a lot when I was a kid. What about you? I assume, being a Kiss fan, you were like, Gene Simmons is in a movie. I'm going to see it.
I got to see it. And I went and saw it, and I saw it exactly once. And that was enough.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember walking out and thinking, it's a good thing he's got a band. It's a good thing he has a musical career, because he was not going to make it as an actor.
And yet he was in more films. He was in more films.
Were any of them as good as this one?
Have you ever seen Never Too Young to Die? The one where
it's been a long time. Yeah.
He plays a transvestite villain with makeup and crazy nails, and he's like, but then there's also this element where he's a super villain, and the hero of the story, John Stamos, is, like a James Bond like character.
James Bond Stamos.
Yeah.
Boy, this movie just smells like success. James Bond Stamos and Gene Simmons chewing
Gene Simmons
scenery.
in lingerie drag. He's in lingerie drag. All right. Well, speaking of the East Coast, the West Coast, I said West Coast. Let's go ahead and bring out our friend Barbara Lawrence to the stage.
Howdy.
To talk about this movie that the Wizard saw exactly once because it broke his Kiss-loving heart. And I saw over and over again because HBO was my babysitter. What about you?
I had never seen this movie. In fact, I thought this was a completely different Tom Selleck movie. When we said you were going to watch it, I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this. And then I was like, oh, it's this one.
What did you think it was?
I honestly thought it was the one with Paulina Poroscopa. Because I had no idea about this movie, like none. I think when it came to 1984 robot movies, I was all about the Terminator and not this. So,
yeah, and this movie had to compete with a lot of films in 1984, including its opening weekend. So it's yeah.
Although
life was
Kiss
unkind
movies,
right off the bat. Yeah.
As far as Kiss movies, we actually watched Kiss and Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Oh my God!
A couple of since we couldn't do our own show last Friday, we did a watch party on the Discord, and they showed Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Oh my God! Talk about a
Star Child.
Oh my God! It was so bad. It's so awful.
It is so bad.
and they were ashamed of it, right?
Oh
Right,
yeah.
Wizard? Like,
Rightly
yeah,
so.
They
Yes.
they rightly so.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yet Gene still got the movie bug. So, people who don't know, this is Gene Simmons' first film, aside from Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
His first film where he's
Yeah.
not playing himself.
Right? Yeah. And even though he is in a lot of films over the course of his life, he more often than not plays himself. You know, either
Well, he's
in
Gene
the Ki-
Simmons.
either in the Kiss incarnation or as celebrity Gene Simmons himself. All right, well, let's go ahead and bring out some more panelists here. We're going to bring out my brother, the man who also saw this movie a lot thanks to HBO and Latchkeydom.
Oh yeah.
How are you this evening, Gravy Bot? And I gotta say, like, combo of name and picture, this is a good look for you, Gravy.
Oh, thank you. I tried to just put it all out there
Spice
tonight.
it up, spice it up
just
a little bit.
swinging for the fences, man.
Yeah.
Well, you hit out of the park.
But yeah, oh yeah. This movie, watched it a million times, and actually did have an adult revisit of it a long time ago. And there were still things about it that weren't fresh in my head, so it was cool to do rewatch. But yeah, boy, we watched the crap out of this movie when we were growing up.
We really did.
But for the record, when I was a kid, I had no idea who Kiss was or Gene Simmons.
Yeah, he was just a villain, and
Yeah.
and he's kind of, like a makeupless Nosferatu in this movie, practically. Where he's
Yeah, Gene, in this scene, I want you to read your lines. Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the acting chops of Gene Simmons. But so going into, so you had already had a revisit of this, and so you already kind of had an idea of how much or how little you were gonna like it. But you were at one point in time interested enough to check it out.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, robots, man. 1984 robots.
Yes,
can't go wrong.
That's right. Actually, you can go wrong, and we probably will cover that film someday, but today's not that day. We're not going wrong with robots today. All right. Let's bring out, okay, well, we got one more of our regular panelists. We mentioned that sadly Adam cannot make it tonight. He is still having symptoms in his stuff, and Jess was not able to make it this evening either. And we also are still looking for Empress Buttercup. I keep entering a room and I know she's just been there, but because it's like actively on fire. But she's can never actually get my hands on her. Anyway, we do have Bot of Pumpkinhead with us tonight to talk about robots. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited about Gene Simmons and robots. What about you? Is this exciting? Had you heard of this movie before?
Nope.
No?
I was completely unfamiliar.
Have you ever seen a Michael Crichton film before? One that he directed?
Oh, that he directed?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because he kind of stopped directing just as like really enormous fame came to him. So he was pretty Hollywood savvy when his books started.
Okay,
becoming giant films.
I did read Jurassic Park like probably a dozen times.
Yeah. Gravy loved Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park.
Who is there someone who doesn't love Jurassic Park?
I don't want to know them.
Yeah,
if they don't love Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I think I read that book a dozen times.
Oh my god, so good.
Yeah.
love would be a bit of a hyperbole for me. I'm fine with it. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about Jurassic Park. I'm not wild about Jurassic Park 2. Jurassic Park 3 was okay, and I haven't seen any other ones since then. So
It's okay. It's diminishing returns as far as films go, but the book itself was really fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good book. I only read it once or twice, but yeah, really like the book. And as far as the movie goes, I couldn't possibly count how many times I've watched it, and I'd watch it right now.
I would for no other
Same.
reason than Jeff Goldblum. That's
Yeah.
reason enough.
I love Jeff Goldblum.
He
Well-
steals that movie.
There it is.
He's great.
I like Sam Jackson in it. God damn it! I hate this hacker shit.
Yeah.
You didn't say the magic word.
Newman.
It's like the first meme that I can think of, really. Like
We
everybody.
we revealed on a previous episode where "Hang On to Your Butts" comes from. It's something that Robert Zemeckis would say on the set of Death Becomes Her, and David picked it up, put it in his screenplay for Jurassic Park.
Well, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Hang on to your butts. Samuel L. Jackson's about to die. All right. Well, speaking of hanging on to your butts, I have a super special surprise guest tonight. It is an old friend from way back. In fact, I'm pretty sure I first met this guy in 1994, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh man!
So it's too bad Jess isn't here because she's only a little bit older than my friendship with the one and the only from Columbus, Ohio, now broadcasting live in my dining room. It's Mr. Tishy. Hello, how are you doing, sir?
Yay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Glad to be
Hell
here.
yeah, we got Tishy in the house.
That's right. He was in town for Ghoulish Fest in San Antonio. Did I get that right?
Yep.
And his new book, The Winnowing Draw. There's like
Not so
mirror
new
effect.
now, but
It's not so new now, but I mean, for people who don't write a book every year, it's quite new still. Okay.
Yeah, who here has anyone heard of it? I mean, come on. It's new. It's new to this group.
new,
It's so
yeah.
good.
Check it out. Yeah.
What
you
is reading? What?
Yeah. You can get it at the publishers. You could actually probably get it on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Can-
CastaignePublishing.com is the publisher, but yeah, it is. Both of my books, well, full-length books, are on Amazon, unfortunately. But this is the world we live in.
yeah. The link is in the comments. So, aside from writing books, Mike also watches a lot of movies. Anytime we hang out, we watch a lot of movies together. This week has been no different. And since we talk about movies all the time, just having you on the show just seemed like a no-brainer. And I'm pretty sure you had a relationship of some sort, some familiarity with Runaway prior to watching it recently.
Oh yeah, I mean, we only sporadically had good cable as a kid, but I definitely saw this movie multiple times in childhood. And like Jeremy, I did revisit it as an adult, maybe like, I don't know, a few years ago. I found it, it popped up streaming for free or something, and I watched it then. I will say that, like, realizing, just as we've been talking about it, that it came out the same year as Terminator really, removes a lot of, like, like, I was willing to excuse it, like, well, like, you shouldn't expect that much, but, like, to hold those two up to each other, that doesn't paint a nice picture. And then the other thing was, as we were talking about earlier, since we're all full of spoilers here, Gene Simmons' character really relishes murdering police officers, like to like a point that he does it even when it's really, really not necessary to do. But the Terminator beat him on that front too. Like, I mean, the total police body count in the Terminator is going to be larger because, Gene Simmons robots and portable handheld missile launcher are just not up to par with the killing powers of a Terminator.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to be starting the movie here. I want to say hello to Eraserhead. I want to say hello to Horatio. Thank you for joining us. Anybody else joining us along, please feel free to pop up in the comments and we will discuss what you discuss. Here is Common People. Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that comment. It's always good to hear from you. It's always good to know you're
okay and safe.
Yeah.
We're glad you're okay and safe.
Honey might not be like the mic drop that you initially thought that it was. And it could be a good idea to reevaluate some of your choices on that. Just throwing that out there. I know that's why you're here. It's the life advice. So thank you for joining. We're going to talk about Runaway. I hope that's okay with you.
He's really hoping you'll play a cat video.
It's not. I do not have that technology, so sorry. Usually TriStar, you're probably going to see something pretty cool. I remember when I was a kid, I was a fan of TriStar because I kept seeing its opener in front of movies that I liked.
It's got a Pegasus.
Yeah.
TriStar was cool.
Opener. Yeah, and
it's got a Pegasus.
I think Space Camp. Speaking of badass robots, might be in that category.
They did not open this movie with the Dion Runaway song, did they?
I don't think
missed
so.
Opportunity.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
It's a total missed opportunity. So, I'm walking in the rain.
They could have had Gene Simmons start his solo career in music by covering that song.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. You'd probably be the only one, but yeah. Jerry Goldsmith did the music. This is his first time ever doing complete electronic soundtrack for a film.
On a Yamaha keyboard.
That vaguely Vangelis sounding stuff too. It's like
That's correct. Yeah.
Poor man's Blade Runner.
Yeah, my son's been playing a lot of that on his own keyboard. I've got some recordings. I'm like, wow, that movie really rubbed off on him.
Of Runaway?
No, Blade Runner.
Oh, Blade Runner. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
A much better choice.
Say, much better choice.
Much more likely for him to come across that on his own as well. So
why? I always found it weird that we give the job of dealing with the robots to the police.
Yeah. And, and he's busy. Like, robots apparently break down and do weird shit all the time.
Why the cops?
Why the cops?
Why not, I don't know, robot technicians?
And he has a backstory. His backstory is essentially the movie Vertigo's backstory. He has the same backstory as James Stewart in Vertigo. And like the explanation that working with robots would keep him from having to deal with like situations like really doesn't make any sense.
No,
like
it's nonsense. Yeah.
Because
the movie's going to distract you from that with a scene of robots in a cornfield.
Yeah.
And allow me to point out that the sole purpose of this robot we're witnessing in the cornfield is to kill insects in the most like inhumane way possible by essentially just picking them one by one and dropping them into like a grinder.
Yeah. Why does it need
That's
to grind?
cool.
Why does it need to grind it? I don't get that.
Just
It goes into Oscar Mayer hot dogs.
it was going to be a beautiful butterfly, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, their butterflies have gone extinct. Yeah.
Too real.
Mm.
Yeah. And we have these robots in the cornfield, but we still have farm workers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they're just standing around
Well,
picking their
it's not their
butts.
job to deal with the robots.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
yeah.
what we got the robot for.
Yeah.
What's their fucking job?
And then when their robot goes crazy, they call the cops. They don't do shit.
Yeah.
I think it's a union.
Fair question. Fair
It's a
question.
very fair question.
Because they're so busy.
Doing what?
Exactly. That's my point. What the fuck are they doing? They don't have a job except watching these robots.
Watching the corn grow and complaining about robots. And you
looking
can't
around
tell me
here,
that
this does
none of
not
these
look like a good
rednecks
place.
have a freaking shotgun. Give me a break.
Right. Yeah, I mean the cops don't do the robots any favors when they apprehend them. You know, it's like, okay, you called the cops for your robot, but I'm going to punish you for doing that by destroying your robot.
Yeah. She's got it. Sort of. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a great shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun when she just like runs out and grabs it. Like she's very gung ho about her new job. Tom Selleck only
Did
took
come over
this
from
job.
traffic. I mean,
Yeah. Tom Selleck only took this job because he's afraid of heights. He has the vertigo thing.
And,
he do-
and,
and he
and
doesn't-
because of that,
Mhm.
he let a bad guy go.
mm.
And he's never dealt with the pain.
Nope.
Gotta love a good subplot.
Yeah, in fact, he's a widower. So he's a single father. And so he has that as well. You know, like he's got a lot of he's had to put up with a lot, you know,
But he's got him a robot.
in his young, handsome life. And in that time, he's probably been tempted to shave off the pushbroom mustache because it's, you know, it's not the safety blanket you might think but you know.
Well, we all know why he's got that mustache. Because that's Tom Selleck's meal ticket, my friend.
That's right. I'm just trying to get into his head, dig a little deeper, you know.
Yeah, duh. They probably said, we need you to shave that stash.
Mhm.
Nope.
Ain't gonna happen.
Magnum never shaves
Yeah.
the mustache.
I do like how the farmers are like, well, damn, we could have blown up the robot ourselves.
Yeah. They're
Why didn't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all like grumpy about it.
mhm.
You could have done that. I could have stayed home.
I don't know why you care because you're just going back to standing around your truck watching robots work, you know. So here, this is when the cop tells his new partner why he only does robot stuff. It's because he has the vertigo thing.
So a guy
got
away.
away.
He should have just said, "Have you ever seen the movie Vertigo?" Same thing happened to him. I mean, he doesn't see his dead wife, but he does have a dead wife, actually. You know what? It is a lot like Vertigo. Maybe you do remind him of his dead wife.
He doesn't seem particularly bothered by his dead wife.
No,
He's gone past it.
it's been a couple of years. He's gotten over it, you know.
With the help of his robot,
His domestic
babies?
robot.
His domestic robot, yes.
Yeah.
But these robots really do kind of look like what household robots were going to look like the trajectory that we were in 1984. You know, like this
Yeah.
is much more realistic looking household robots.
Yeah, I think the one he has in his apartment that we'll see in a bit is the same one that Rocky had in Rocky 4. They also had a domestic robot as an expression of Rocky's fantastic wealth and success.
No,
Well,
it's not. No, that one's smaller. I
I
know
for
what
one
you're
was
talking
very disappointed that it didn't resemble Rosie from the Jetsons.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
I wanted it to be Rosie from the Jetsons.
Or at least have her sass, you know.
Something. Something.
Floater.
But those robots are not allowed to be sassy, you know. So now he's got a live baby inside a house with a robot that's been stabbing people.
I'm just gonna say it again. This is why I won't let a robot in my house.
Yeah, I thought this was really creepy when I saw this as a kid. Like, you know, this robot's
yeah.
gone crazy and it's murdering people and it's holding a baby hostage, basically.
This would be an early example, you know, maybe the first time I ever saw a scene depicting, like, you know, blood in like a suburban home, you know, like suburban slaughter.
Well, once you see the robot that did the stabbing, it is really hard to imagine how that robot could successfully stab 2 people to death without, you know, them
Some
getting away or
resistance.
stopping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have been able to knock it over.
Yeah, I agree. Or they should have just gone with like the robot had the gun the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
Because as they find out, the robot's got a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
And-
that wallpaper is hideous.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. This is the near future for 1984. That wallpaper is what is 1984 right there. And writer director Crichton did want these guys to look like what he thought was, you know, just around the corner for humanity as far as robot assistance. I'm not really sure what that robot, you know, the single arm robot that's only a couple feet tall, what exactly was it for anyway? You know, it was just, instead of being a Roomba, it holds a vacuum.
There wasn't much explanation for this thing's raison d'etre.
No.
Yeah.
And looking at it, it's not like there's any obvious storytelling about it, like, oh, that thing could do this or that or just about anything. It's an amazing robot. No, it
Make
looks
a robot that can stab people and hold a gun.
It's
That's what we need in this scene.
that the robot looks like it was built to spread butter in Rick and Morty. You know, like that's what it
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why
Exactly.
it killed everybody.
That's what he discovered his
My existence is
his
futile.
He was designed to have an existential crisis.
Great suit.
Yeah, I was admiring that as well.
What is my function? You turn on the Roomba. What were you going to say, Brian, about the suit?
Oh, just that it's great, but it also is like, what is the purpose of this? Also, if they know the robot is homicidal, why don't they give him a helmet?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
I bet there's
Because that mustache is Tom Selleck's moneymaker.
Nothing covers it.
Well,
gotta
the
keep that thing
helmet
on.
can have like a little mustache window.
That would be awesome.
that would have been sweet, dude.
I would like to see that.
Yeah.
And he is still in like peak Magnum PI fame right now.
Oh yeah.
He's cashing that fame in. You know, this was definitely supposed to be a bigger success than it was. It was supposed to be. You know, they thought it's an action movie, sci-fi action. That always equals blockbuster, except when it definitely doesn't, and it definitely didn't here.
They spent some money on it, I'd say. It's got good production value, you know.
Yeah, I love the smart bullet shots. You know, that zip through all kinds of stuff, and
yeah,
you know, it's kind of like a high tech version of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead vision.
Yeah,
you know, like he would just put the camera on a rope and then put the rope on a stick that was about 20 feet away from him, and that's how he made his Evil Dead vision. You know, and like I would love to like have you know, branches or stuff rigged to get out of the way. And those, yeah, it's a fancy version of that. Would have been neat to see the rig they used for that.
Oh, for sure.
When it gets its big re-release.
Yeah.
Criterion. The Criterion edition, they might be able to dig some of that up.
Well, I have a hard time really seeing anyone falling in love with this film, though. Even though it's got lots of cool stuff in it, it just kind of lacks that, you know, I don't know, that energy and attraction that a movie like The Terminator had. You know?
It does not have that joie de vivre.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, just look at the plot comparison between those two films. You know, just it all starts from the bones. I do really enjoy this scene. And like I said, when I was a kid, this scene really, really captivated me, and I thought it was scary and amazing.
Yeah.
I love the shots where you see a silhouette, a shadow rather, of the robot holding the gun, and then he finally disables the robot, and you see it, and it is the most unimposing, unintimidating thing.
No,
right? K9 had more presidents.
Totally.
You know, the Doctor Who dog robot, K9 had more presence than this thing.
No, it's like a cat carrier with like a claw.
If you have some, like, you know, transparent things you want projected onto the wall, it could do that for you. You know, like if you're in school and you're got some laminates there. I don't know. That joke sold better in my head.
It took me a second, but I got it.
I got it.
And the slideshow didn't show it, but he was armed with a laser.
Yeah.
So this movie has both robots and lasers. So,
and yet none of the robots are equipped with lasers.
You know, we totally glossed over the cameraman.
That's true. We did. But honestly, that was his own.
Oh no, it was
awesome. 100%.
I love it when somebody does something stupid and dies because of it.
Yep. Our body counts at 3 now, I think.
We also had a Twin Peaks appearance. Chris Mulkey. He's the dad of the household.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden,
we'll see more of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He will join that body count.
He was better in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
She was better in Dirty Dancing. That's the only other movie I know her from.
Oh yeah.
She's in Flashdance.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She was in Dirty Dancing? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the girl that Penny or Baby uses the money from her dad to go and pay for her abortion with.
Oh man, I haven't seen that movie in like 40 years. So,
and a few years after this, she will marry Richard Marx
and not work anymore. She got
that Richard Marx money.
She did that one video for him, and then that was the end of her career. She didn't work anything anymore after that. because I was looking at her IMDb and it ends
Amazing.
in like 91. So I'm like, okay.
Amazing.
She got that Richard Marx money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
good
she was
for her.
trying. Yeah, she was trying to break out of the, the mold of dancing and acting, and becoming just an actor. So that's another set of hopes that were hung on old Runaway here.
Tom Selleck went on to do Quigley Down Under.
The C-3PO box of cereal cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
They were really banking on that being a hit forever.
C-3POs.
I did see that somebody spots Tom Selleck's character's date of birth in a database, and he based on when he says how old he is and when he was born, this movie takes place in 1991. So this was like 7 years in the future, according to Michael.
Wow,
Crichton.
what a disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, there were no...
The only thing that I had that even remotely looked like anything from 1991 was his domestic robot, and it reminded me of the stereo I used to have in 1991.
Yes. Yes, it's true. What's her name? Lois? Lois looks like, she looks like an 80s component stereo.
And then they take apart this sophisticated machine here.
That's right. They found the errant chip in the overhead projector.
That is what that is. I've got 2 overhead projectors in the house.
You do?
Yeah, but no gun.
Oh, I think you can make cool visuals for like psychedelic rock and roll shows with those things.
Wish I had one of those.
Sure
Yeah, you put some oil in a pan and you're good to
I
go.
wanted my own overhead projector.
In a gotta DeVita, baby.
There were a couple of Sabbath videos that had that.
Yeah. Overhead projector.
Boy, this isn't putting a favorable light on poor Runaway here. We're talking about Iron Butterfly.
We have a banner for that.
This is a digression.
Yeah.
And in 1991, policewomen, they just are wearing skirts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, now this is funny. So, of course, the reasoning behind having robots do construction work is cost savings, efficiency, not putting people in harm's way. And here you have a robot that is chucking perfectly good, brand new, usable materials off like the 3rd floor onto the ground.
In a way that will harm someone. In fact, like they walk around these things nonchalantly. I'm like, be careful. That's like 50 pounds of, whatever it is.
Yeah. Shouldn't they be wearing hard hats in a hard hat area?
Yeah.
Not if it's going to cover up that mustache. No.
The hard hat's not covering up the mustache.
There's a shadow effect with that brim. There's brim enough.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So you've got a total hazard being created, and you're wasting material. So
yeah,
I'm not seeing the cost savings here, folks.
Did you see the little sign about the robots not being equipped with human sensors?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little sinister.
But that should make it easy to sneak up on it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's just telling you, like, this robot will run right into you. Like, be careful or you will get run over by a robot. And, like, because, like those robots should also be moving at a speed that doesn't really take humans into effect either, I would imagine. Especially she gives reference to construction that is 100% robot, so.
By the way, that evidently happens all the time at the Amazon warehouse.
Really?
Yeah.
That it's just robot on robot action?
No, that robots run into people.
Oh, they run into people. Do they drop Do they drop perfectly good products from the third floor?
That I have never heard, but
Now let me hear you say hot robot on robot action.
Yeah, where's that banner?
Why
Is
does it
there
always
any-
have to get weird with the robots?
Why
Is there
there
any-
sexual tension with the robots?
Yeah.
Is there any
exactly.
hot robot on robot action? And now you've got like this bad guy, Gene Simmons. Why did he
doing his one look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I'd let him in my house.
He erases the tape, but not the whole thing, like he kind of wants to get caught. And then like this guy who's selling him these illegal chips, he's like, what do you want them for? He's like, oh, the mafia or terrorists, whoever's worse. Like he really wants to get caught being a supervillain, like he does not give a fuck.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I do like how, Jethro, the way you've got the screen set up, like he is brooding over the entire broadcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Gene Simmons with his death stare.
If you're ever forgetting what the bad guy feels anytime the bad guy's not on screen, just look up. That's what he's feeling right now.
But tilt your head down as you look up,
Mm-hmm.
because that is the Gene Simmons look.
Yeah, I read a little blurb from Gene Simmons where he kind of discovered method acting by coming to hate Tom Selleck so much that he would feel it in his pulse and his face would, flush. And he would just be inventing things about Tom Selleck in order to keep hating him. And he was like, you can't make that face at someone for an extended period of time and not come to hate them, And
Yeah.
he brought it up to Tom Selleck, who was like, that's great. Keep doing it, so.
That mustache. I can't stand it. Ah!
How much of that
Selleck's moneymaker, baby?
How much of that coffee do you think's not ever going to wind up in his mouth? Because of the mustache.
It's all foam.
Someone needs to throw me a fucking line on these guys. I'm making jokes here. Jesus. It's a comedy show.
Police!
There he is.
Yeah, this guy found a hell of a hideout. It's a nice spot.
Yeah. I like that he was ready to shoot anyone, but he saw the badge and he was like, okay, I don't, he hasn't completely lost it,
He was just in awe of the mustache and he was stunned for a moment.
Yeah, that's why you don't put a hard hat on that man, Barbara.
Whatever.
Without the mustache in plain sight, he's defenseless. Okay, so the clip didn't show it, but like right in broad daylight in front of God and everybody, Gene Simmons is like, I'm going to shoot this fucker.
Yeah.
It whips out his giant hand cannon with the heat-seeking bullet.
They proceed to chase their suspect after he sees, the other guy they're looking for screams and runs away from him. Maybe detain the other guy you're looking for, just scared the shit out of him, yeah. And yes, as Adam points out, it's really cool that there's this smart bullet camera that zips through the alley and it even goes through these steel pipes on the back of this truck. But Tom Selleck can outrun them, you know?
Yeah, he keeps looking over his shoulder, and the bullet's like still behind him. It's insanely
It's like
slow.
he got away again.
He has to give him a flash of the stash to dazzle them.
Yeah,
That's
What
right.
he's doing.
They're smart. They're not fast.
Yeah, it's a little razzle dazzle, and the bullet asks itself for a moment, "Do I want to destroy that mustache?" And it gives him the upper lip.
The upper lip.
Oh boy. It's a scramble stash. It scrambles the signals.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a really cool shot. I mean, I loved it when I was a kid. It's something I've always remembered about this movie. It's shot like with this ultra wide angle lens, and it looks pretty groovy. I actually would like to know exactly how they pulled it off.
And I like that they have a robot, that detects, whatever's in the air around this, around whatever you want, I guess. Super smart vacuum cleaner.
It's sniffing the wound to try to find out what components were in the little mini missile.
Vectrocon.
And it leads them to Vectrocon. It's important to remember there's retinal identification, because at some point you will see the bad guy with an eyeball. He has just brought an eyeball that's get in there.
That's good to have an extra eyeball.
Yep.
I always carry one on me.
Especially when you use the two that you have that hard at all times.
Oh, yeah. Well, I also like the indication that they've gone into some advanced corporate oligarchy here. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a private company that is able to scan random retinas and look up exactly who that retina belongs to.
Yeah. And there's nothing that Sergeant G.W. Bailey can do about it.
Why would he? He's an asshole.
Doesn't he have a police academy to get to?
Yeah.
He very literally does. I'm sure he had one just before and just after old Runaway here. I don't know where else he used his shtick around this time, but I know he's just a couple years away from old Mannequin.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You are one sick puppy.
That man's like the soundtrack of our childhood.
Yeah.
For real, Adam, the anti-RoboCop.
Yeah.
For real.
Boy, RoboCop is a hell of a picture too.
Oh, don't get Adam started. You don't need to be asking that man about RoboCop.
Oh man.
In fact, no one should be asking you about RoboCop.
Yeah, I was like, don't get me started either, pal. I once put a post on Facebook that said, "If thou starts RoboCop, thou must finish RoboCop."
Yeah. If you wander into RoboCop, you have to watch.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Bitches leave.
Yeah, I was about to say. If anyone tries to get you to stop watching RoboCop, all you have to do is say, "Bitches leave."
I mean, it's what we do best.
Yeah. Yeah. Kirkwood Smith always gets to say "fuck." It's in his contract. G.W. Bailey always gets to say "asshole." It's in his contract, and he gets to say it in this movie. There are really only a few swear words. There's a lot of dead cops, as we've talked about before, but not a lot of like really bloody wounds. And we've been watching the movie for a little while. There hasn't been much adding to the body count, but that's going to change here really soon, because unbeknownst to him, Tom Selleck's character is not only rescuing and having an immediate crush on this lady, but she is the girlfriend of psycho Gene Simmons.
But look at her. Look how great she looks.
Oh, she looks
She looks
sassy.
amazing.
What
By the way,
when he first sees her, he is in a room with two, like with the guy who works security at that building and his female partner, and he just says like, "Wow, she's a great looking woman." You know, like I'm like, dude, I don't think that's happening after 1984. That's not happening in 1991. Come on now. You're not allowed to just be in an
It
office.
sure is. I mean, look at her. Come on. She looks amazing. And she's still what? At least 3 years away from Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Is this before or after she was in Star Trek 2?
After.
After.
after, yeah.
So she's really on her upswing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a testament to that this movie didn't completely stall it.
She
Well, she had to
she's-
switch to TV.
yeah, she spoke very highly of Michael Crichton. According to her, like that's a director who, you know, would do as many takes as was needed to get it right, and was very good with actors. So
I mean, despite her, you know,
And Gene Simmons.
her affiliation with Scientology, I think she's great. I love her.
yeah. All right, so we already mentioned with Gene Simmons that he kind of accidentally created method acting all on his own. That started early. His audition with Michael Crichton. He had one, if I'm not mistaken, a single audition, and in that audition, Michael Crichton asked him to stare menacingly at Michael for a minute, and just hold it, and that's what he did, and that kind of set tone for everything he does in this movie. He's just giving the death fucking stare to everyone on screen at all times.
And that ain't method
Well,
acting. That's
He
real.
nails it.
Yep. That's one note.
Well, he followed his direction, singular.
And here we have PG-13.
Boobies.
It
Yep.
turns out Gene Simmons plays a creepy
Now, we haven't had any really bad...
asshole because he is a creepy asshole.
Yeah.
Shocking.
What were you saying, Gravy?
Oh, I don't think we've had any really bad language yet, but we get some boobies.
We do get boobies.
I think this movie has like one fuck in it. It has more than one asshole and more than one shit.
It had one fuck to give.
But I think it
and
just
here
has
it
one
was.
fuck to give. But you know, when someone dies, they have like exactly the amount of blood they thought they could get away with PG-13. And then they get nipples in there as well, which, as you can see, is occurring in a non-sexual situation, which is also kind of a requirement for PG-13. So, and some of these rules, even though this is the first year for PG-13, some of these rules stayed in place for a long time. I just recently watched Hackers. Don't ask why. And you see what's her name's breasts in that movie, and not like it's even like it even pushes the limit too, because she's on her way to a sexual situation. So you know it really pushes the envelope as to when in a PG-13 movie you can see nipples.
The roof.
That's a digression. Okay. Moving on.
But why were you watching Hackers?
It was at Fantastic Fest. It was Doug Benson's movie Interrupted.
Oh, okay.
The audience chose Hackers, and it's not a bad movie.
Is that the one with Robert Redford in it?
Mm-mm.
No.
You're thinking of Sneakers, which
Sneakers. Yeah.
Yeah.
if I recall properly, is a bad movie.
Sneakers was not nearly as much fun as Hackers. No.
No,
Yeah.
couldn't have been.
Okay.
All right. So where are we at in the movie? I got lost. I started rambling. Okay, she's got a bullet in her that hasn't gone off. These bullets explode. And first, like, you know, Tom Selleck is like, you can't move her and take her to the hospital or it will explode. Then he's like, don't use a robot. I'll do it.
Yeah,
Now-
and that's when the fuck is given because
Yeah.
he gets the good guy F-bomb in there
He gets
because
the
they're
big
trying
guy.
to tell him, well, let's do it with the robot. He's like, that robot's a piece of crap. I'll do it myself.
And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that as a police officer that has indeed studied robots, because that's where he's transitioned to. So we do know this about him. He's studied robots. Why is he pulling the bullet out of her, you know, with forceps? What about his qualifications means he can do that?
So he's a trauma surgeon on the side.
Yeah. And here's
Well, they
G.W.
wanted to let a
Bailey
robot
losing
pull it
his
out.
shit. You screwed up good, Ramsey. 2 dead cops. 2 dead cops.
Look at that maw. Look at that maw.
He's so ineffectual too. Like no one ever like changes anything because he lost his shit and screamed. You know, no one was ever like, I better toe the line because G.W. Bailey is mad. That never happens. He's as ineffectual as he is in Police Academy. And he might get pubes glued to his face. If this movie was long enough.
See, I
Eventually.
think what we're seeing here is part of the problem where this movie really failed is kind of pacing because they really like it really gets bogged down in this whole fucking scene about pulling this bullet out of his partner. Like it's just it just
Yeah.
seems like it's too much. Like it just sags
Yeah.
here.
There's several scenes like that. They could have been trimmed for pacing. And you know, they're not really drawing you in as much as they think they are. So, yeah, they could just be shorter or excised altogether. This movie does not need to be longer than 90 minutes. So
No.
now I just want to say for the record that the next time I get to pick a movie, I don't know exactly what movie it's going to be, but it's going to have Matthew Lillard in it. And
How dare you, sir?
now, because I mean, I'm not in love from my childhood with any films from, you know, Matthew Lillard. Like he's fine. I don't dislike him, but I never watched Scooby-Doo or the Scooby-Doo sequel. And I know people love him, you know, I know.
Matthew
very
Lillard is
popular.
just one of those guys. I don't particularly like him, and I
Mhm.
don't particularly love any of his movies. But every time he shows up, he's kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't hate him, but boy, my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really going down the punch list of all the things you can't bring up with Adam.
Yeah.
Can't talk about RoboCop. Can't talk about Matthew Lillard.
Matthew
Oh,
Lillard.
he will regale you all the live long day with RoboCop.
Yeah.
He loves
Yeah.
that movie.
I
Matthew
mean-
Lillard, not so much.
So you and Lillard is probably like me and
Can someone tell me how we got to Matthew Lillard?
who's that asshole?
We're talking about hackers. We're talking about hackers.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Who's that
yeah.
asshole
The
that-
bullet, you know what?
How are
You
we
think
still
that-
on this fucking scene?
I know you think we're digressing, but we're still on the fucking bullet.
It's a well-timed digression.
Yeah, no, Tishy is right. This bullet scene is too fucking long. It's too fucking
I just meant those were two things that Adam will
Mhm.
go on and on about.
Mhm.
Whether one is good, one he likes, one he doesn't.
I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons why is because he also hates Scooby Doo, and Matthew Lillard plays Shaggy in Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
I grew
Like
up with
every time they show up with Scooby Doo,
Mhm.
there's Matthew Lillard. Ever
I-
since Casey Kasem died, it's Matthew Lillard.
Here's a letter. So I guess he's not going to see the Casey Kasem biopic starring Matthew Lillard.
Oh wow! Holy shit!
Dad, it's not a raccoon or a burglar. It's your son.
It's your son, Jason.
JC Kasem.
How did that skit fail? I don't understand.
I don't understand how
No,
it
no,
no
I
one
could not-
understands it.
I
No
would
one
be rolling
understands
on the
it.
floor, man.
I'd be peeing my pants. All right. Let's not get too esoteric, folks. We're falling apart here. Bring it back to the stash. Back to the stash. Let's center. Let's center.
Oh,
So
boy.
he has actually just straight up
God.
hit on her, by the way. Like he's reached a point where he is basically suggesting, that they have dinner together at his house, which hello, that's a bit of a power play. A little fucked up, right?
Yeah, but since it's the 80s, she's very open and appreciative of it.
Oh yes, of course, because stalking is romance in the 80s.
That's right.
And
We maybe didn't get to sexual tension with puppets, but we got to that one.
yeah,
It's gonna be one or the other, if not both.
and I mean, if the stalker has a mustache like that, I mean, it's not stalking.
Man, we haven't used it in a while. It's way back here.
His nightly chat with his son right before he goes to bed. Hey, son, it's good to see you for 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
Really appreciate
And
it.
as you can see, Billy is into psilocybin based on the poster on his wall there.
Yeah.
Psilocybin and word processing.
I've been microdosed to Billy, just as instructed. Yeah, that's some psychedelic shit going on up there, kid.
Yeah.
But my mom learned on a word processor that looked suspiciously like the one that he had on his desk.
Yeah. And now we're talking about the smart bullet. And instead of just being heat seeking, he makes up some like techno bullshit about how this bullet can actually chase a specific person.
Yeah, it's not just raw heat, it's a heat signature.
Yes. And so when Tom Selleck is outrunning that bullet, boy, he is outrunning the most dedicated to shooting him a bullet can be. What about these chips? They talk about the chips a lot too.
Yeah.
The chips and the templates. These aren't the templates. Where's the rest of the chips?
Arrest,
And now-
murder, no conviction.
Yeah, I love the character development of Gene Simmons, where he's just like, he's a rich kid gone bad. He likes to kill people. There you go. So
Yeah, you just find that out during some exposition at the precinct.
right. I just came by to kind of talk a little bit about this guy in very broad details. If anyone were watching us, maybe they would get an idea of what he's like. He's been in jail. Why'd they let him out?
Yeah, this scene is ridiculous and
Yeah, the
unnecessary.
psychic
The fucking
scene is just like,
psychic.
what the fuck?
Oh my god, I forgot about this.
And you will forget. I forgot about it every time we watched it this last time. I'm like, what the hell is this shit?
And that's a problem with this because they dropped this shit in there
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and then it's just gone. Never
Yeah.
Yeah,
happened.
they never come back to this.
Here's like 3 or 4 minutes you could have easily just taken right out of your
Yeah,
runtime.
it has no
Uh-huh.
place whatsoever.
Yeah, or why
Cutting room
didn't they
floor
have
material
an
here.
ESP bot? Like, why
I'm
was
sensing
why
the
wasn't
letter
she a
R.
robot?
Yeah, basically,
Doesn't
as a
make
viewer,
sense.
you really relate to Ramsey in that scene. He's like, I don't want to be here, and we're like,
Yeah.
no, neither do we.
Yeah. No one does because this is silly. Psychics and robots don't mix.
Where did you get that dress? It's awful. And those shoes and
The
that
shoulder
coat.
pads.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
she
the
could be like a
future.
running back with those pads on, man.
That's the future right there, people.
Oh God.
Sorry, Barbara left her phone in airplane mode.
Zing.
And Leon's getting larger.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to get to know all these cops because they're all about to die. Like,
It's gonna be some dead cops. Yeah,
Oh, hey Donnie.
He's talking to Gene Simmons on the phone, and
yeah.
Gene Simmons is talking about, he can't get away from my little toys, Ramsey.
I'm watching you now.
Yeah. You're trying to trace this call. That was a very nice Ramsey.
I do like hearing him say Ramsey. It's pretty great.
Yeah, he has. I mean, you can kind of tell he really doesn't like Tom Selleck. You know, he made himself hate him.
It's their karmic connection. It has that effect.
Thanks for dropping by, Don. Good to see you. And now he has to admit to Kirstie Alley that they did not catch him. Her life is in danger. Maybe if she'd be willing to, he could jeopardize her further in order for her to maybe do this whole cop thing that he's not really good at, which is why he's the robot dude. And it is important to note that when G.W. Bailey starts giving him a hard time for running a case that isn't about robots, he's right. There are no runaway robots going on right now. You know, he should have handed this all off to some other cop a long time ago.
That's true.
But the mustache wouldn't let him.
No. And anyone who was like, hey, isn't this out of your purview? They couldn't even form the words in the presence of that beautiful pushbroom. Oh, look at this. This is like the Philadelphia version of HBO here, right?
Yeah, and man, look at that belt buckle that Kirstie Alley's got on, man. The thing just it amazes me.
Serious.
And here is a scene that could have been excised because it is disgusting and a sign of where this film comes from. When this film comes from. Where and when.
Yeah.
It's very important that you skip the purse altogether. Distracted by her boobs.
Do not scan the purse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
He saw the cross her heart bra and he was like, did she have a purse even? I don't know, but we have to remove that too.
She's got scars on her back, which is creepy and disturbing.
Yeah, it implies that is what Gene Simmons does to his girlfriend.
And I tell you what, like the wizard said earlier, Gene Simmons really is a creep. And I heard some of that interview he did with Terry Gross on NPR, and he is a serious freaking creep.
What did he say on there that
Oh,
was so
my God.
revealing?
Dude, he was like asking her why. I can't hardly repeat it. I mean, it was insane. Yeah, Terry Gross was later quoted as saying like he's a total crackpot.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was like asking her like if she would like if you won't do this. I mean, like she was just asking him questions, and he was taking. Maybe he took it the wrong way. I don't know, but he was. To call it inappropriate was an understatement. What he said to her. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't talk that way to Terry Gross. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, he's a dirtbag, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. He's gotten that rep before.
Oh, way before.
Yes.
For a guy that was born Heim Witz. Yeah. He is. He's a bit of a creep.
Yeah, and he probably hates RoboCop, the fucker.
Yeah. Probably. Well, if you ever really want to have a very good chuckle at Gene Simmons' expense, I can't recommend Too Young to Die, Never Too Young to Die enough. That movie is something very special, and Gene Simmons is making an asshole of himself from start to finish. It's Phantom of the Park on steroids, honestly. It's just whoa. I think we brought it up before already, but I bring it up again.
It deserves repeating.
Yeah. He's wearing like lace teddies. He does a whole musical number while walking on the bar, the strip club or whatever. Oh man. And Vanity's in it. Now here are the landmines that chase you in traffic. A young Jethro bot was convinced that this would be something we'd all have to be dealing with.
Can't drive down I-35 without dealing with a murder bot.
Yep. Conditions dangerous. That robot's really on top of things, letting him know conditions are dangerous.
It was wild to me watching this scene that none of the other cars were like crashing or swerving or reacting at all to this little guy, little robot guy just like weaving in and out of traffic. Yeah. Are we just like used to these now? Is it like this is how food is delivered? It drops out of a car and goes to another car? Do people just see them?
They're fucking terrifying,
Yeah, everybody's just like, it's cool.
They don't even pull over.
It's a robot.
They just weave out of the way. They're like, another one of those.
Although to be fair, it's really no worse than driving in Boston.
Yeah.
What I do like about this scene is that these things are kind of like these attack drones, and drones have become like the staple of modern warfare, as it turns out now. And so that's kind of interesting. There's a little bit of correct speculation there, which I think is good for a sci-fi story.
Yeah.
Well, it is
Here we have an example of a phenomenon in film that I always find baffling, which is like the robot replaces random career that a robot would not replace. Like in Starship Troopers, they're getting tattoos from a robot. Like, why is a robot the one giving tattoos? You know. And then here in Runaway, a robot is doing sushi. Why is it, of all foods, why would the robot be creating sushi? Yeah. No, there's if I'm not mistaken, there's a, like the robot's voice is kind of racist, isn't it?
It would have to be with that logo.
Yeah. Well, it was a version of 1984 we assumed would, be arriving any minute. After all, you saw that wallpaper. We hadn't advanced in wallpaper.
Oh man.
Only robots that take care of babies with one arm that extends out like a half foot from them, and they are a foot tall. I don't know what do you do for a baby from down there?
Picks up the binky.
It picks up poop.
I can't tell you how many times I wished I'd had a little robot to pick up the binky.
Okay, so weirdly enough, my son had zero interest in pacifiers, like none.
Mm-hmm.
If there wasn't food coming out of that nipple, he had zero interest in it. Didn't want anything to do with it. He would spit them out.
Yeah. Yeah, my oldest was like that. You'd give him a binky, and he'd kind of like suck on it for a second, and then it was the same thing. There's nothing coming out of this shit.
Yeah. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah. So they got a little chase in a waterfall. I don't know why. I remember when I was a kid, I thought this was really cool. I thought that that thing they started doing in the 80s were at office campuses and office towers and stuff where they had like outdoor concrete and glass waterfalls. I thought that was so modern, high tech, impressive.
It's still cool.
Yeah, it is neat, but the chase scene is not that great.
Have you been to the one in Fort Worth?
No.
The Water Garden? Which has been
the one from Logan's Run?
Yes, it has been in several films, Logan's Run being the best one.
That's something I'd like to see someday.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see it.
You should. It was my favorite place to go in all of Fort Worth. And I spent many a weekend there when I lived in the Metroplex.
Sweet.
I did want to go there when I went to Fort Worth because I've only been to Fort Worth once. And everybody was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah, don't listen to that. It's so cool.
People have forgotten about Logan's Run. Will Smith has not made a remake yet.
Well, this was like back in I want to say it was like maybe 1990 when I went. And everybody was just like, nope, let's go to the place with the live bull riding. And I went, okay, here we go.
Gillies is certainly something to see.
Yeah. And now this lady who we've seen her like in several scenes now. I think she's even had a couple lines of dialogue. She just happens to be the cop who's in the bathroom when the spider wakes up and kills both her and the responding cop by blowing up. It's graphic,
Yeah, that one's nasty. Those little spiders, they jump on people, they inject them full of acid, and then the whole thing explodes.
Yeah.
Which seems like overkill.
It definitely is. As soon as he has just killed some random two cops, for no, necessary reason, he just likes killing cops. He takes this eyeball and he gets he dresses up as a cop. First thing he does after killing cops, dresses up as a cop. Gets a cop's home address and now he's gonna go fuck with this kid. In a world run by robots, this is a movie about like one of the very few human heroes in their story, and his tragic death at the end because he's the bad guy. He's gonna die.
Oh, poor Lois.
I want to point out that I didn't realize Lois was going to get hurt, and I wasn't ready for like innocent robot violence, which has always upset me. We talked about this when we watch Ice Pirates, but when those robots in Ice Pirate get run over, so that only the daddy is left, and he's going, "Mommy, baby, mommy." It's horrific. It was horrific for me as a kid, and seeing Lois hurt here, that hurt. Lois shouldn't be hurt.
No, I agree.
She's good.
Lois is a good robot.
And I don't even like robots.
No, I mean,
she's
But
no
I felt
Rosie,
bad
but
for
whatever.
Lois.
Okay.
she's no Rosie.
Man, I mean,
But
All she ever did was take care of people.
Mhm.
It made me sad.
Yeah. I love Lois.
yeah, it's like hearing the last words from like one of our Mars rovers.
Mhm.
It
sad.
actually said it's getting dark now, as it was beginning to power down permanently.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's very sad.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. The emotion people felt for that sculpture that was a robot arm that kept itself greased by collecting the never-ending leaking
Leakage.
grease. Yeah. And so someday it would just run out of grease to collect to keep itself alive, and then it would die. And it did. I think it took like 3.5 years or something.
Whoa.
And people were affected by witnessing its death. I guess they probably knew it was coming because I imagine it got rather squeaky leading up to that. Oh, we missed something important. I was blabbermouthing, and we missed another horrific. And we were talking about Lois, the robot. She is probably who dressed that boy.
That's his point.
Yeah, she's setting him up for failure and beatings.
Yeah. Robots.
He could
shook
never
race
ever
to
go
this.
to a sleepover. Ever.
Yeah.
Guys, can you believe when you learned about his Vertigo thing earlier in the film that it would come up again?
I was just disappointed that Kim Novak didn't come along with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this elevator's not working right.
Oh gosh, I need the human speed. Sorry, you're better at it than me. I've never been one for impersonations.
I do like this scene though. I mean, there's kind of like some things about it watching it this last time that it's like what, huh? But
pacing is the film's fatal flaw, but then when it gets good, it's good.
Yeah.
I love how inexplicably the fucking reset button for the elevator is underneath.
Yes, that's what I meant. That's what I was like. Yeah, like what? What madman put it on the bottom of the damn elevator?
This'll fuck with him.
Yeah. Look at all the
Probably
cool robots they built for this one scene. There's all like there's all these robots at this construction zone. It's just for this one moment. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a robot that built the elevator. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Robots
point.
aren't afraid of heights. Yeah, I like the set, but these robots are just making sparks and they're not really doing anything. but it still looks cool.
Mhm.
Bring
Well,
in the
Jeremy-
robot that makes the sparks.
We've already established earlier in the film that those robots are all scabs, and
Yeah.
it's they can.
Yeah, I mean, the woman specifically
they
says
could
that
fuck-
robots
yeah.
are better because they don't have unions. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they have license to fuck around as much as they want. Like no
So-
one's even going to believe that robots fuck around in the first place.
So that
Oh,
being
like the
said,
farmers at the beginning.
Yeah, like the
Oh.
farmers. Yeah.
Wow, that's
so that
why.
being said, is this a pro-labor movie or an anti-labor movie? You know, is this a pro-union movie or an anti-union movie?
Gene
Is it-
Simmons. Gene Simmons is the bad guy.
Tom Selleck has a mustache.
Yep. That boy is. He's just.
He's gonna
He
get
is-
beat.
Yeah. He's He's aged past his years in sweater vests.
That boy ain't right.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I just recently saw this thing that talked about all the instances that suggest that Bobby is not Hank's son. And
No, he's
It's a
Bill's son.
it's alarming, dude. He is Bill's son.
He is Bill's son.
It's right in front of you the whole time. They tell you over and over and over again. And yet I never saw it.
Wow,
Because you were
never-
distracted
I
by
never
the
thought
other
about
kid.
that.
There's no way we could ever get away with playing it on our show, but
Uh-huh.
there is the funniest little YouTube clip of Hank Hill dancing, and he's singing "Turned Down for What?" ah, ah, ah. Turned down for what? And it's so good. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a nice little moment where he goes all the way to the top of the buck hoist. He's way up there.
Yeah, and it's true. Everyone knew that Hank had a narrow urethra, you know.
Oh,
Bobby was not a miracle baby.
But you was distracted by John Redcorn this whole time.
That's it. I mean, that's one of the ways that they were telling you the entire time. They were like, here's a clue. Look at John Redcorn, and, you know, I don't, yeah, anyway, it's wild. The whole thing's just wild. My mind's blown.
And Bill's always had a little bit of a crush on Peggy.
Well, they used to date before she met Hank.
Uh-huh.
is that right? That's actually
Yeah.
part of the story.
That's canon.
Oh no, so
I
Bobby
never,
Bobby is definitely not Hank's son.
Yeah.
I never got that far into the show.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Well, see, for me, it was like a documentary. I knew a lot of those people. Like,
Getting
so
back
much
to
of
the
that movie is real.
Yeah, getting back to the movie that we're watching right now, I just want to point out that one of the most awesome, brutal, and probably would be rated R nowadays moments in this film is the acid on his face.
Yeah.
Like he gets acid on his face and it scars his both cheeks black. And when there's close-ups, you actually see like a slit of like injury on his face. Like he's gonna have like wild ass scars, and you know, but yeah, here he is getting to the reset button. Maybe it's one of several. Okay, whoever built that was like, you never know when you might need one on the bottom.
Yeah.
You
Just
could
climb
put-
like a
let's-
monkey around the bottom and hit the reset switch.
Let's just put a reset switch on every side, you know. In case you're hanging from the bottom, you need a reset switch. You're a little blinded by acid. You're having a hard time climbing because, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, one of the boys have returned from the Buckethead show.
Sweet. It's
Yeah,
awesome that
They saw
it's awesome
Buckethead.
that your kids went to go see Buckethead. That's
Yeah, I'm
cool.
proud of them. They did good.
Yeah, good for them.
That boy's got a bucket on his head.
See, Total Recall never has to watch Raising Arizona because even though that is a movie from my childhood, I can assure you how I feel about it. And here it is. Like, here's the big closer with Gene Simmons where he really gets to like just chew the fucking scenery in a big,
Oh,
big
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And this is like when I was saying like he's kind of like a Nosferatu with no makeup. Like this is what I'm thinking of. It's just that, you know, he's like a nightclub Nosferatu. You know? But he forgot that there's a robot speed button on the elevator, and that's gonna fuck you up. And guess what? Those spiders aren't smart enough. They don't know who you are. They're supposed to just kill anybody. So they're going to kill you in a big, big way. That's a lot of acid. That's more acid than Gene Simmons probably has actually taken.
Gene Simmons has never taken acid.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
No.
Get real.
Get real, G. No one believes that. I don't believe that. I don't believe it about Frank Zappa either. I just don't fucking believe it. You can say it all you want. It's not true.
Because I think he is just narcissistic enough
Yeah.
to be serious.
Yeah. I mean, I think he wants, I believe that he wants me to believe that. I just need Gene Simmons to know if he cares that I don't believe him. And also, you should not have been disrespectful to Terry Gross, and me doing this show and finding out that happened is really, I mean, I don't like you, Gene.
I'm telling you, the more you learn about Gene Simmons,
He's kind of a creep.
you will never get to the point where
Yeah.
it's like, well, fuck, I guess he's not as bad as I thought. No, it just gets worse.
No, it just
The
keeps
more you
getting worse.
dig, the worse it gets.
Yep.
I invented the metal sign. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Good gravy.
Oh, he swears he did. He tried to copyright it.
This is a great movie, Death. Like the big plumes of smoke coming from his corpse.
I like it.
Looks really
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
You know, like Michael Crichton in his directorial career, he did do a lot of like great evocative imagery. You know, you see the poster for Coma, like you recognize it immediately. It was one of those video boxes that just popped out off the shelf. Interesting factoid, Tom Selleck was one of those bodies in the Coma lines. So Crichton had actually worked with Selleck before as an extra, as a Coma dude.
Cool.
And I love that movies from the 80s like this, there's this romantic moment between the two of them at the end, in spite of the fact that, he's horribly burned by, like acid. And also all of their friends are fucking dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just gonna like make out in this waterfall of sparks. Like
That ain't no reason we can't suck face.
Yeah.
For the entire closing credits at
oh
that.
my god, it's
Yeah,
And it goes
awful.
on
them.
forever.
There's
It's
about an
terrible.
hour of this.
Shit like this is why the kiss is so long in Big Top Pee-wee. It's because Pee-wee wanted the longest kiss in cinema history, and there's some doozies out there. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I mean, there's a record to beat.
And you were just savoring that stupid little jump scare they gave you with Gene Simmons at the end, where he like comes back to life and for like a brief moment.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
And they just followed up with that. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man.
It's just more sparks.
Like I've been saying, it would have just been so much better if it ended with the reveal that Gene Simmons was a robot. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
And I wonder. I wah 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 wah.
But this
Nice.
movie, like his job in this movie is like Radio Shack Blade Runner, you know, where like
Yeah.
he chases after toasters that have feelings.
Yeah. And
G.W. Bailey as Chief.
there's a lot. You've given him a name.
Hooker at bar.
Hooker at bar.
Hooker.
You know, you think about it.
Rudy.
This movie called Runaway, which refers to runaway robots, could have done with quite a few more actual runaway robots.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it fucks with the whole plot line and what makes sense in this movie, because he's not supposed to be investigating these kinds of crimes. Like the moment it becomes the moment the bad guy isn't a robot that is malfunctioning, he is supposed to hand this over. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember if we got to this factoid, but this movie was shot in British Columbia, except that the year that they made this movie, there was a late spring and a bad corn crop in British Columbia, so they did have to shoot the farm robot malfunction scene in America, and that's like the last scene they shot for the movie. So.
It's so weird to me. Like, they could have done so many things to establish that, like, runaway robots are a thing, and this is what Tom Selleck's day-to-day looks like. But it's like, no, cornfield, gotta do it.
Yeah. I feel like if Adam were on the show, I know where he'd be voting.
Yeah.
he's given me a vibe. I'm gonna go ahead and start voting because this is my choice. By the way, Gravy, I hope you brought a list or some ideas.
Man, is it my turn?
If not, I'll give you one. Gravy.
Oh no, I actually I had a moment.
Okay.
Well, it's all right.
Before we get too deep into that, let's actually have Barbara vote first, because
I do have to.
She does have to split. No,
to leave early.
We're hitting that time. But if you anything you want to say before you head out,
it's a no for me. I'm sorry.
That's
sorry.
okay.
It was
No
just
I bring you robots, you spit on them. I understand.
I don't mean to spit on your robots, Death Row, but I watching this movie, I was just like, what in the ass is happening? This is just what time is it? Let me look at my phone. It was not a comfortable movie for me to just an enjoyable movie for me to just sit down and go, this is so bad, it's great. No, it was just bad. and maybe it's because I don't have fond memories of it. Maybe it's because I've never seen it. Maybe it's because I actually thoroughly confused it with an entirely different Tom Selleck movie. But yeah, it's a no from me, guys. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I get it. You know, like I completely understand a lot of complaints about this movie. So some of them I didn't even bring up, but you know,
I don't even have a lot of complaints about any of the sexism or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. It was just kind of boring to me. And
I get
yeah. So yeah, it's a no for me, guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and it's clearly a no from Adam. So all right,
I don't know if I think I would probably rather watch this over Seinfeld, but
Hmm.
just because I don't really care for Seinfeld all that much. But geez,
Yeah.
that's harsh.
What a tough choice. What a railway call that one is. So, say hello to everyone for us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to dip out early. I do have to go pick up my kid. He's at an autism function thing that I have to go pick him up from.
Well, yeah. I don't know what we will select for next episode, but we'll try and pick something you'll hate.
Oh yeah.
Listen, my no's are few and far between. This is just like,
no, I get it. I totally get it. Like
I wasn't enthralled by this one.
It is like wildly long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Like it is like long with a reckless abandon.
Trust me, you really don't need to apologize.
There's scenes in there. There's scenes in there like The Psychic that are like
It did not age well.
You do not need to exist. And yeah, there's some bad aging too. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yep.
It's a no for me, but I'll pay attention in the chat on the way over to pick up my kid. But everybody have a really great night, everybody. It was fun seeing you guys. Nice meeting you, Titchy.
Yeah, you too.
Bye,
Good
Barbara.
night.
Bye, Barbara.
Night. All right. Well, I'm going to give my movie a yes. Not just because it's my movie and not just because it has robots in it, but I do feel like this movie is not boring. And it's got like plot holes to beat the band, like no doubt about it. There's shit in this movie that does not make any sense. There's no reason for that to be in this movie, and it's just a straight up plot hole, But it's still fun and weird, and even when it's like stretching out and you're like, oh my god, like are we still talking about this bullet stuck in her arm? Or there's some other times that are definitely, there could have been some trim. This would be a much better 90-minute film than whatever length it is now. This is definitely longer than 90 minutes, like definitely longer than 90 minutes, but I still give it a thumbs up. I think if you saw this movie when you were a kid and you really liked it, that you should probably rewatch it because a lot of those robots are still fun and cool, even though the spider robots, they clearly can't do a whole hell of a lot, like very limited on what they could get those spiders to do. And the film kind of clumsily works around it. Whatever. It's still fun. It's still cool. I still enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I had never watched Runaway since seeing a shit ton of times as a kid. And I do not regret revisiting it. No way. It was fun. I guess we'll just go to you, Wizard. Like, how often do you and I get to start the voting?
Yeah. I'm really on the fence with this one because I almost feel like if you had fond memories of it, they very easily could be tarnished.
Yeah.
That's hard to argue with your experience.
No, I get that.
You had, but
there's sexism. There is that. Well,
no, I'm not even talking about that. Again, it's just there were far too many moments where I was looking at something else. I was distracted. Watching it with a group and making fun of it, I think, was a lot more fun.
Yeah. But if you loved it, that maybe isn't what
that might, right. I don't know. I can see how there's a risk. You could come back to this and it was not as good as I remembered.
No.
But I did not watch it repeatedly. I was probably older when I saw it. So I will give it a guarded yes as a revisit if you loved it. Be wary, but give it
But
a shot.
ultimately, it is a thumbs up. Go ahead and revisit it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so, but just
Yeah.
barely.
All right. Well, as someone who did love the movie, I do support, the notion that you can revisit it. And let's talk to someone who also loved the movie, Mr. Gravy.
Hey.
Did any of your kids watch it? Just out of curiosity.
No, it was just me. I tried to get Charlie to watch it because he was hanging out around the house, but I think after Caveman, he's ruined on this experience.
No more
Yeah.
Total Recall for.
Yeah, he's like, man, if that's what you guys are watching, jeez.
All right. Well, Adam, if you're still with us, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Sandra. I'm sorry. Never mind. That was Buttercup. Sorry. That was Buttercup. Never mind. Yeah.
So this is a tough one, right? Because it like Adam's list of faults that this film has I'm not going to argue with those. Like they are like it's a movie that like a lot of these problems may not affect a young viewer who's razzle dazzled enough by like the robots, and the laser gun and stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, I don't think the movie's like feels like it's overly long. I don't think it's boring. It's definitely problematic in terms of like some plot holes. You've got some stuff that does belong on the cutting room floor. It's almost as though they didn't want the movie to be too short and they left in some things that they didn't really need to, or maybe should have been fleshed out better. My biggest complaint with the movie is there's not enough runaway robots. There's robots in it, but not enough runaway robots. And as a kid, it's funny that I didn't really feel that way. I think I just liked watching the movie,
Yeah.
And I still kind of like watching the movie. But like the Wizard said, revisiting this movie could tarnish your feelings about it because the problems really show. Like it's like when we watched I mean I'm still brokenhearted over Something Wicked This Way Comes, because just like the Wizard said, it's not as good as I remembered it.
Yeah.
I was sure like that was going to recall well, and we were all going to be like, oh, that movie's great. What a great classic. No, it's not. It's got a lot of problems.
I can't remember where we landed on that one. But
yeah, I think we all ended up.
But it was a lot closer than I would have expected it to be. Because just like you, I remembered that as being like a good movie. Like it's like complex for a young mind, maybe.
Yeah, and it turns out it's kind of muddy and kind of a muddy mess. I actually don't think Runaway is as muddy as.
Runaway is like embarrassingly straightforward. Like,
almost like
the explanation they provide for their villain is absurd. You can do so many things with the idea of like corporate influences, outsider interests,
actually a robot.
A robot.
Yeah, that definitely should have been at least explored. And maybe it was in the creative lab, but like, it was too complicated to go with. This is a really tough one for me to say. So I'm going to, I think my vote is a lot like the Wizards. Like, it's like, look, I still enjoy watching this movie. I may never watch it again, but there's still enough.
You did enjoy it when you revisited it.
Yeah. And I revisited it like 20 some years ago, and I watched it again this time around, and had a good good enough time with it that for me it's a yes. But it's not going to be for everybody. It's like, yes with a warning. It's not going to be quite as good as you remember it. It's still going to be some good, but not as good. And it's not going to be like but I really don't think that if you had a lot of experience with this movie and really liked it, that you're going to absolutely hate it on a rewatch. I don't think that's going to happen. You're going to be it might be a little tarnished, like the wizard says, but I don't think it's going to be, And as far as somebody who hasn't seen this movie, I'm not going to tell you got to watch it.
Yeah. It's not not necessary viewing. It's kind of interesting that the robots from Silent Running hold 357 Magnums, but
yeah. But if it looks like something you might enjoy,
if you're trying to complete your G.W. Bailey,
if you're a G.W. Bailey completist,
it's a
must see.
If you're a mustache enthusiast, perhaps like you're really into mustaches and robots, there you go. You can watch this.
I do want to point out Adam's comment because I find Looker to be really worthwhile. I am a huge fan of Westworld. I love Westworld and I love Yul Brynner in Westworld especially. But Looker's pretty interesting. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the boys said the Buckethead show was awesome. They had a good time.
Good. I'm glad to hear that the man is still bringing it after all these years. I mean, shit. I could have seen Buckethead when I was their age. Wow. Pumpkinhead.
Hey.
Do you want to talk to us about how you feel about this movie? Someone who did not see it earlier in your life.
Sure.
What do you think someone who did maybe?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of want to balance out the Wizards vote with not a resounding no, but just to sort of be on the other side of that line of I did feel like this wasn't a super enjoyable experience watching this movie. What the enjoyable part was watching it with y'all. But it wasn't the movie implicitly.
We're just a funny bunch of motherfuckers. I mean, how could that not be fun?
Yeah. So sorry, I I was kind of falling asleep toward the end of revisiting the movie. As I was toward the end of when we were actually watching the movie, it just did not hold my attention.
That's not a very strong endorsement.
Yeah, and I do. I'm glad that Jethro and Gravy enjoyed revisiting this, and I just feel like that might not be everyone's experience. And I think for the purpose of this show is to safeguard the questioning viewer from tarnished memories, and I feel like this is a movie that could have that effect. So
this is a tarnisher.
It could very well be. Obviously, it isn't across the board, and I feel like with a lot of the movies we revisit, there's nuance. So I hope everyone who's considering revisiting this will take that into account. But it's a no for me. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah. Gotcha.
There were fun things about it, but
I think
overall it put me to sleep.
I think it's funny how the differences between the yes and no's. Everybody's saying basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I
pretty
mean,
funny.
there's only so much nuance as experience can have. You know, it is, after all, it is Runaway. So it's just a yes Runaway or a no Runaway. But we all saw the same Runaway and felt the same Runaway. Like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's at that point like kind of a level of nuance. And speaking of nuance, I think we're like 3 up, 3 down.
We are 3 up, 3 down. Not to put any pressure on you.
Yeah, no, like welcome to the show, Titchy.
Yeah.
And please decide your first episode.
Well,
The question is,
I gotta start with an aside.
should someone who loved this movie, when you say up or down, someone who loved this movie at a point in their life and they're wondering if they should revisit it because they haven't.
So before we
Whether
get
or not
into
they
that,
should.
I've got to take exception to your comment about Silent Running, which, by comparison to this movie, I mean, I just watched Silent Running recently.
Okay,
again.
well, let me interrupt you for one moment. There might be an anti-echo option in your audio that
Oh
isn't
shit!
isn't
I don't-
clicked yet.
I think
Okay.
he sounds cool.
Okay.
I mean, it does sound kind of cool, but
Sounds like a
It-
robot.
if you
Is it
look
under
at like,
settings? I don't fucking know how this shit
Hey,
works.
before you
Sure.
turn it off, can you just say Star Child one time?
it's in a 3 Star Child.
Is that better?
There you go. You got it.
Okay.
That was
You're
a very
good.
nice, Ramsey.
Off
Yeah.
echo cancellation. Okay. So by comparison to this, like the robots in Silent Running are like a clinic in how to have like emotional weight on a robot character with very little provided in terms of action. But anyway, I digress.
You're echoing again.
Well,
And it was going into the feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys probably ought to mute while he talks.
maybe.
Oh gosh, yeah. I wonder if it's my mic picking him up. I'm gonna try that.
It could be. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Titchy.
How's this?
You're perfect. That's perfect.
All right.
I think
was
we
never
were
my
picking.
fault to
Yeah, I
begin with.
think we were picking it up on Pumpkinhead.
So,
But yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So this movie, and we're off of Silent Running now. First of all, when you said it's a lot longer than 90 minutes, it's actually only 10 minutes longer than 90 minutes. I looked it up while you were talking. So there's like, so it's 100 minutes long. So
Well,
and
you
I think
feel every 100 of them.
you could shave. Yeah, I mean, it just occurred to me just as we've been sitting talking about it that the whole scene where they do the police sketch is completely unnecessary and doesn't make any sense at all because they already have a still image of the guy.
They have a
Like,
photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why even do that? But anyway.
Well, Crichton was clearly in love with the tech.
Yeah.
He loved
I
selling
mean-
the sci-fi of it, you know.
I would argue in terms of like, the idea of this souring someone's like nostalgia or like fondness for their memory of this movie is like it's hard for me to imagine it's hard for me to concoct the person in my mind for whom this movie represented that like significant of a great experience of film to begin with. Okay,
All right, well maybe he liked robots.
I'm just saying that it's like if this was like one of those like moments in your childhood that you return to with great joy, then like if you're that person, I don't think watching it today is going to ruin that for you. But I think honestly, if you're that person, you might, I don't know, you might need to broaden your horizons a little bit. You might need to like aspire for something more. But here's the thing: I love dog shit movies. Like I watch tons of them, and I don't think this is a dog shit movie. But I'm saying in terms of my standards for entertainment, like it held my attention well enough. Like, and it has moments that I enjoyed, and some unintentional comedy. So like my standard is not that high. So if I'm going to be the deciding vote, I'm going to give it the yes, just to push it over the line.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So you are saying yes.
Yes.
Someone should revisit it.
Why not? Really.
Apparently, you also.
I
Did
also
you
think
ins-
nostalgia
did
is
you
inherently
insult the-
bad.
Oh,
So-
nostalgia's bad. So you don't like the premise of the show, but
I don't either.
okay, all right. I'm glad we finally had this talk. This is episode 32. You're finally telling me you don't like the premise of the show?
This show is long enough to have an existential crisis, and here we are.
I
Alright.
love the premise of the show.
I'm glad that I'm here for it and that I did my part in precipitating it.
I love the premise of this show.
Me too.
You're not gonna. All right. Well, anyway, it is a yes. Then that
Yep.
pushes it. That pushes it right into the yes column.
You
Salvage
say
this
that's
robot.
mostly?
Mostly.
It is a
total.
mostly
Yeah.
total, mostly. So we do technically recommend it, but clearly, if you've watched the show before and you're like, I am more of a Jethro Gravy Mick guy, I think you know how.
me being
I
just
think you know.
barely.
Yeah, I think you know how you should go. And if you're like I am more like an Adam guy, Barbara
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
There's a chance you're not going to like this movie.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest movie.
It's a
just
pretty
also a
good
chance you
chance.
could have. Yeah.
I did.
It's 100
Go.
minutes of your life, like you probably were gonna waste it anyway.
Oh, jeez. I didn't bring you on the show so you could question everything about it. That's not the.
I'm
It's
just
not
saying, like, why not spend 100 minutes watching this movie? Like, there's a lot dumber shit you might do with that 100 minutes. That's all I'm
Let's pick
saying.
another movie,
right.
Gravy. Let's pick another movie, Gravy. What
Okay,
do you have
all
on
right.
board, Bubs?
All right. So I've had a thought, and I'm gonna run it by everybody and see what
I'm
people
so
think.
glad.
Okay. Now, I think we've been on a kind of like a fairly like modern our childhood trend. But there was, some classic movies that we watched when we were kids too, and that were popular when we were kids. And there was one that I hadn't thought about in a long time, but I had thought about from time to time throughout the years. And I realized I'd never watched it in any time recently and hadn't watched it with my kids. And I was watching some Criterion Closet videos on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have ever watched those where they have filmmakers and actors select movies. And somebody picked this thing off, and I hadn't thought about it for a while, and I was like, oh, I'd really, really like to watch this again.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you guys feel about watching the original Blob?
The original Blob.
Yeah.
I definitely saw it more than once in my life, but I couldn't say when or where, The original Blob, I like the original Blob.
Yeah, that's all I know about it is that I saw it when I was a kid, and I liked it.
Yeah.
So when you say the original, are you meaning 58?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to be clear.
Because they did do a remake that came out when we were kids.
The remake is
That is
baller.
phenomenal.
The remake is outstanding.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I would be open to watching either of them, really, because I remember liking the remake as well.
Yeah.
So I know that they're both good, but I haven't seen either of them since I was a kid. And I would watch either of those movies.
Well, I know
wait.
that.
So are you throwing two versions of the Blob into the vote?
Sure.
My
personal leaning is towards the older one.
Yeah.
But
I was
especially
going to ask you, are you just like, because you can't just say like, hey, we're watching the Blob, like we don't have to have a vote.
That's
But
true.
or are you just throwing in the Blob as one of the movies, or possibly two of the movies that
Well,
we're to consider?
it was just I hadn't really thought about the newer one that did come out when we were young.
Yeah,
Um,
that scared the shit
yeah, it was scary,
out of us.
and I haven't seen that. It did. It scared the crap out of us.
Oh my god, the trailer alone was like, ah!
Has anybody seen that in recent years?
I watched it last year. It's fucking great.
I've
Oh.
seen it several times as an adult, actually. And
Okay.
I love it. So
Well,
so for the purposes of the show, the first Blob.
Yeah, I want to go with the original Blob. That's what I had in mind anyway, to be honest with you. And I thought it would be a cool mix-up because we haven't done an older film for a while. Like, we did Rear Window, which kind of predates everybody in the group mostly.
Yeah.
And
You're right. We haven't had anything. Yeah.
But I think I'd like to go with the Blob. Original. Was it 58? Is that what you said, Wizard?
Yeah, 58.
Mm-hmm. Well, Adam is saying that he definitely knows how he feels about the original Blob, but
I haven't seen it in a long time, but
did you have any other films in mind? Do we have more movies?
Well, let me see here.
About?
I haven't gone back to my original list for this show in a while.
Well, yeah, look at that. Look at the list.
Yeah.
I have not seen the original The Blob, and I cannot tell you how long. I have seen the original, as I tend to, sometime within just the past few years. I don't need to see it again to tell you how I feel about it, which is that it is outstanding.
Okay.
And
right.
It's a Chuck Russell film who did everyone's favorite Nightmare on Elm Street sequels. And then, unfortunately, after The Blob, which he co-wrote with Frank Darabont, he went on to make The Mask and Eraser.
I liked Eraser. I remember liking it anyway. I only watched it once.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking back at my
original... Eraser on your list?
No, it's not. It will be though. It will be now. Damn it. Well, that'd be a good one. Yeah. All right. I'm putting Eraser on.
Could be tonight.
Yeah. So I got. This is the big list. Let's see. I mean, there's all kinds of crap on here. I mean, there's like American Ninja 2. There's Warlock. That's one I kept thinking about too.
Warlock.
Yeah, Warlock or Solar Babies.
Solar Babies.
Yeah, and Solar Babies wasn't a movie that I watched a million times or really loved or anything. I just remember watching it a couple of times and thinking it was really weird. And I don't remember anything about it much more than that.
Right. Yeah. I remember. I definitely watched it more than once.
Okay. There's also some others that, again, these are not movies that we loved and watched repeatedly.
Horatio, I could talk about some Demolition Man.
Dude, I would love to watch Demolition Man again, but I'm pretty sure I really like that movie. But here's some oddballs that probably only watched once or twice, and it's just be weird movies from growing up that it would just be weird to rewatch and probably just find out just how bad they are.
Right. We just need two. We got The Blob. Yeah. Just give us two more movies.
Okay. Well, let's stay away from the real stinkers and go with Warlock or Solar Babies.
Blob, Warlock, or Solar Babies.
It's a strange selection.
Warlock is Julian Sands as a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Solar Babies is essentially a not heralded dystopian future.
Yes.
Film. So no one really goes back and watches Solar Babies. That's something that my vote's for Solar Babies.
It's cool with me.
If for no other reason, because no one does Solar Babies.
Let's do Solar Babies. I think
I would really like to see the Blob. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, we can put it on the back burner.
Yeah, I mean, we have to let's take a vote from our other members, because I think both Barbara and Adam can still vote as well. And they're still in the comments. But I'm just gonna go ahead and vote first, because why not? I want to see Solar Babies. So there's one vote for Solar Babies.
I have no doubt how the Blob is going to come out.
I think the Blob is probably great.
Yeah, we're all going to recommend it.
Are you sure?
Great. Yeah, I am. I don't think that's one to do. I want to watch it. But
we could just watch it together sometime. That'd be fun.
I think we should just watch it. We don't need to have a show.
Yeah. That's cool.
Warlock. I could totally be down with Warlock. But Solar Babies sounds like a lot of fun.
Solar Babies has been pretty far at the top of the list because it's so mysterious to me now. Like, I don't, I'm like...
I barely remember anything about it.
Yeah, right.
But it was what I remember is good. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
let's do that.
Oh, Eraserhead, you're killing me. All right, so we got it.
Big
So
Bopper.
we do have two for Solar Babies. We have one for the Blob. We have audience for the Blob. So we have two for the Blob. We have two for Solar Babies. Anyone else on the panel want to throw this in here?
I think Bop has said Solar Babies now.
Huh?
On the chat.
Oh, Pumpkinhead is... Oh, you've seen Warlock sort of recently. Pumpkinhead is saying Solar Babies. Now it's 3-2. Right?
Yeah, if we're counting Horatio.
Yes, we're counting.
And we are, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed somebody else.
Okay. All right. So Adam is saying the Blob. We have 1, 2, 3 the Blob. 3 the Solar Babies.
I think both Adam and Barbara are saying they would go with Warlock, if not the Blob.
If not the Blob.
And I think we are scrapping the Blob because the Blob is probably just a classic that we're not breaking any, all we would be doing with the show is ratifying the Blob is a great movie and everybody should watch it.
Okay.
More than likely. Yeah.
All right. Well, I definitely would not be against Warlock, but I'm still solidly in Solar Baby camp.
Okay. The Adam's now saying that his vote is the Blob.
Okay. So that's a Warlock from Barbara and Adam. Solar Babies for Pumpkinhead. Where like Tishy, you can vote.
It's weird to me to vote because why would I exercise this power over you?
I don't know.
We let guests vote.
Okay, that's cool. My vote's going to be for Warlock then. I've never seen Solar Babies, so I have no frame of reference for any feelings I might have had about it in the past. So and I think Solar Babies is actually supposed to be one of those seminal hope punk kind of things, and I find the idea of hope punk as a genre or subgenre just
hope punk.
Yeah.
I am not familiar with this.
Turd.
I do not know what you're. I don't know what you're talking about.
I am not familiar with this subgenre. Tell me more.
Well, it's more in kind of the literary side of things. Hope punk is it's a future it's like positive future stuff, you know. But it's like, I mean, they apply that punk like sub label to things, you know. So like cyberpunk, like whatever, steampunk, all that. Hope punk is like a more hopeful vision for the future, and that's not really my brand.
I smell Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, so
And
you're Warlock.
I can't say that with authority, but I swear Solar Babies has come up in conversations where people are like talking hope punk. And so that's the association I have, so it's an automatic no for me.
All right.
So I'm saying Warlock because I know Warlock, there's like magic made from like dead babies and shit. It's a really fucking dark and fucked up movie, like for what it is. So
all right, cool. Well, I'm flexible, so I'll go Warlock. You know, like
I would love to see Warlock again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hang.
I definitely have not seen Warlock since it was on a rental shelf. So, I'd never owned a copy of Warlock. Like I never like watched it. In fact, I think I'm really familiar with the Warlock trailer because it was before Dead Alive on my VHS copy of Dead Alive. So I've seen the trailer for Warlock over and over again. But as far as the movie, I've probably seen it once.
Yeah, I haven't seen the actual movie in a really long time. I know we had. I don't know if it was your Dead Alive tape. It was some tape you had. We watched the.
It was Dead Alive.
Yeah,
because we watched Dead Alive over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. My dog's eating something. I got it.
So it's the Warlock.
It's Warlock. We're returning to horror. You know, we didn't have to wait until October to get there. That's cool. Because I like doing horror, you know, and horror was a part of me growing up. And what year is Warlock? It's got to be early 90s, right? Like 91. Has anyone got a
I am
tab
working
open?
on it. 89.
89.
89.
Right. Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, we're going to do Warlock. So, in summation, if you loved Runaway as a kid, you should probably see it. But even the people who saw it had caveats about its length and level of entertainment value. After all, it came out in 1984. And if you were to do a list of like best films of 1984, that list would be staggering. And yeah, like Runaway is not going to be in the top 20. Like,
that's not very nice, Ramsey.
Drop it, sucker. I don't think I even used it. There it is. Boom. Drop it, sucker. I didn't use these. I made them and didn't use them.
Oh, that's a good one. You guys just take out a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah, I forgot to use them. Oh wow. We'll keep that one. No, that's a keeper. All right. A lot of times we talk about the projects we're working on and stuff. If anyone has anything you want to say, anything you want to plug, or if you just want to put in the comments a website that we can go to, what have you. But otherwise, we're pretty much done.
I think we're done.
I want to thank our special guest, Tishy, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank myself for picking this movie because it was a good movie to pick for the show. And even though everyone didn't like it, I still did a good job.
Yeah, that's right.
And, I deserve accolades as a result. And I want to thank Gravy for picking the next movie.
You
And
bet.
that's it. Good night, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We loved having you. And just want to say we really like you. And good night.
And subscribe. Please get look. And subscribe. Please get look. Like and subscribe. Please get look.